Howdy hackers, and welcome to another episode of FairLight TV. Last episode, I was digging into the game of Terror Molinos. I was learning a lot doing that, and I was actually thinking that I could apply the same knowledge to other games. So why invest a lot of things, learning a lot of new stuff, and just use it once? You can repeat it based on the same knowledge. So my idea was, what other games could I apply the same things and sort of make the same adjustments and improvements? So over to digging into Dodgy Geezers. All right, so Dodgy Geezers is an adventure game published by Melbourne House. It's produced by the same two guys, whose name I don't remember, doing Terror Molinos. And my idea was that, well, why don't I implement a disk saver, which wasn't in Terror Molinos, which was something I implemented, and let's see if there are things that I could implement there, like a trainer that would help you with the game. So I messed around and I did the kind of the original cracking, extracting all the tapes, all the files from the tape, and started building a version. And when I basically had a working version, I suddenly realized that the game has a save function into it. So there was no need for me to add anything to that. It was actually a lot better than the one I implemented in Terra Molinos, because when you save, you have the option of making a little copy of the save into another area of RAM. So you could basically do a RAM save. Of course, if you turn off the computer without storing to disk or storing to tape, that store is lost. But then you have the opportunity of saving to disk and to tape. And when you save to disk, you add an index as well. So you have 10 individual save slots numbered from 0 to 9, basically. So there was absolutely nothing for me to do in that aspect. So I needed to find additional implementations or improvements that I could do to make this game a better version. And I think I found a few. Let's over to those. Okay, so continuing on the I failed epically storyline. My first idea was to utilize the fact that this game was split into two parts, so basically a part 1 and a part 2. And you conclude the first part and you're giving a password, and then you're also asked to save at that stage. That save file is then loaded when you start part 2. So my assumption here was that there would be large portions of level 1 and level 2 that would be the same, because they are running as totally independent programs. But my assumption was that the engine of the game would be the same, and if I compared the two files, I would find a big chunk of memory that would be the same between the two versions or the two levels. And if I only store that once, then the remainder would be possible to fit inside the game, inside the full memory, and I would only need to run it once, and then you could select level 1 and level 2. But no, that was not possible. I do have a tool that I coded myself, which is Floptimizer, which is basically Optimizer, but with FLT thrown in there to make it into a word. It's built by a concept that Gollum introduced me to when we did Last Ninja 3 together. So you have chunks of memory or files, let's call them files, which typically represent something like a level. And if you have something like Last Ninja, where you would have the main guy appear in all the levels in the same place. It's quite redundant to have them stored in every, or represented in every level. If you extract that, put that in a separate file, and then patch the general file with zeros in all the locations in all the files, you load that, and then you take the commonalities and you just throw them into the mix. Then you have loaded the all of the data, but it would compress into something that is a lot smaller. So you have level 1, you rip out the commonalities and patch that with zeros, and then you store that as level 1, and then you do that for all the subsequent levels. And then you have a number of blocks of commonalities, and you just kind of join them into one big file, because you have the opportunity of opening a file, loading chunk 1, and without closing that file, just continue load from it until you're at the end of what you wanted to load there. And then you go on. So you can have basically an unlimited number of segments in that file of commonalities. I've used this a number of times to reduce the size and the kind of the footprint on disk on the games I've cracked. But this time it wasn't possible. I was absolutely sure that there would be lots of commonalities, but there wasn't, because the core part of this game is sort of offset with the number of bytes. It looks like the guys producing the game had the original source code or source code of the engine and then patched it a bit and compiled it or assembled it, making it too different for my Floptimizer to do anything sensible with it. So there was no opportunity of using the Floptimizer to optimize the game. Bugger! Next thing I realized, and I guess I haven't thoroughly tested this on the original from tape, but when I stored stuff from memory to disk, I got errors, and I couldn't really figure out why at first. Before I realized that the file name was there, it was seen, I could read it, and it was 8 characters, but the length of the file name it stored was 9 characters. So all the 8 I saw, and then a return character, so OD at the end. Which doesn't make sense. I'm sure because the engine for this exists on multiple platforms, and it couldn't be me that found an error that was prevalent in numerous instances, in numerous games made with the quill. But yeah, I don't know. But just changing this to 8 works absolutely fine, and then suddenly storage works absolutely fine. The other part here is that you have your 10 save slots, and if you save one and then use the same save slot again, you need a save with the replace. So either you scratch the original one before storing a new one, but here the game tried to save a file with the name of a file that was already existing, and that fails. I mean, that's the way it's designed to do. You couldn't save using the same file. If you would like it to replace the old one, you need to have save with the replace, and that's quite easy to do. You do an alpha sign and then a colon and then a file name, but then you need a file name that is 2 characters longer, and there was no place for that. So I needed to move that out and have like my own little patched save routine that we use a save with replace, but only working with the save replace when disk drive was selected as the option. So what I fixed was disk save works fully, and I've tested this in numerous cases, and it should work fine. And it also works with save with replace. And yeah, so I'm thinking I'm covering all the bases when it comes to saving to disk, which the original actually didn't. So do test that in my version, of course. Let's have a look at what I mean with that error. So this is not my version. Again, this is not my version. This is testing another version of the game. And if I do save, do I want to save to RAM? super convenient. Copying the 0400 to 045B to yeah, or 045A to 045B and onward. So that's where the copy is. So I want to save to disk, and it's a bit weird here that when I choose save to RAM N, I don't need to press return. When I press D, I need to press return, and then save game, I just press a number key. It's not very consistent, but anyways, I'm now saving to 1, and you see the flashes on the screen. That's because my action replay is active here. Okay. And now I'm doing save. I'm not saving. I'm saving to disk, return, and I'm saving game number 1 again. And you cannot see that, but here the disk drive lamp is blinking because it detects an error, and the reason for that error is that there is already a file with that name. Okay, which is awkward, because then you would need to save to a new save slot. But of course, if you have save slots, you would like to load them. Let's load D and save number 1. And load error, try again. There is a file called 1, but that one is not available to us because of this length of the file name issue. And to be honest, I haven't tested this thoroughly with all versions, and I haven't tested it without the action replay actually running. It might be that due to how kernel works, if you work on stock kernel, it might work. But it's wrong. I mean, it's wrong, and you would be lucky if you have a system where it works. So that is what I fixed. Okay, so the next part would be a picture viewer, because that was something I had in Terror Molinos. In the opening sort of trainer menu, you could select yes if you wanted to watch all the pictures. Unfortunately, in Terror Molinos, that trashed parts of the memory, because parts of memory was used where the pictures are shown. That's used in the setup of the game. So if you allow a picture to show, that would trash parts of the memory that you need to set up the game. I'm sure it would be possible to kind of set up the game and then show it, but I didn't do that. You just had the opportunity of watching the pictures, and then you needed to reload the game if you wanted to play the actual game. But here I've managed to combine both. So you are able to watch the pictures, and then when you've seen the last one, the game starts. So no need to reload anything. You can watch all the pictures in level 1 or part 1, and you can also watch all the pictures in part 2. They are there, and you watch them before you start the actual game. So yes, did that, and it works nicely. I also had to compare my version with others, and then I suddenly realized that I only found 2 versions, and there was an epic one, and I have to show you that one. So it's this one. Dodgy Geezers 1 and Dodgy Geezers 2. West Coast Crackers. Okay. So this is the version West Coast Crackers did, and it's cracked by number 1 of West Coast Cracker, or as I call him, Strider or FairLight. This is the guy that is the founding father of the group FairLight, but this is when he was still calling himself number 1. Leaving West Coast Crackers, he renamed himself into Strider. So, of course, I had to adjust this intro into making it a FairLight intro as an homage to Strider for his excellent work and for being a cool guy. So let's see that. Okay, so my version here then. So Dodgy Geezers and Dodgy Geezers Part 2 and documents and a number of save files. Yeah, all the save files. This is still work in progress. It's not the version that is uploaded to CSDB because we haven't uploaded anything to CSDB when I'm recording this. But yeah, we can run it. And I'm using Dolly as the compressor here. Okay. Yeah, don't kill me for this. It's still a lot of fun. Thanks to TNG for the quick Petsky logo he did. That's sort of in the same style as the West Coast Cracker Petsky logo. I just had to add the music and then change the logo. The rest is absolutely the same. It's very original. So now we have this as an option when we make our games, that we could actually throw in a West Coast Crackers inspired intro. Okay, trainer menus. Do we want to see all the pictures before start? Yes, let's do that. And of course, the press any key year like is that's also a function built into the game. So I'm reusing that rather than having my own key press routine. Because then I also get this message, and I'm saving bytes. It's just calling a JSR into the game and reusing the function that's already there rather than using my own piece of code. And here the game starts. And you can do load. And since there is nothing in RAM at the moment, I can load from disk. And I'm loading, what was that? Level 2. I hope there was no, there was no. Disk, I'm sure there was a 1. Yes, there was a 1. So I'm now in a public bar in the in the fish finger. Okay, well, so this is this part of the game. Thanks a lot for TNG for the logo in the intro and for all the game testing. And he's been playing through the entire game and generating save files for me to validate a number of things. We should also do one little more thing. We should watch the second file here. Yeah. Yeah, again, we did it like Tony did it. So an intro on both files. Normally, when I would crack a game such as this one, I would have a boot where I would have the loading picture. And then I would only have an intro on that file, and then the 2 individual files would probably be level crunched, so they wouldn't be even runnable independently. But here I choose to add an intro like Tony did it, because I needed to have a trainer menu. It's more difficult to have an initial thing where you set something like see all pictures before start and then have that propagate into the file you load. So it was easier to do it this way. And so the other thing I'm doing here is that I'm allowing you to see the password to access part 2 here. But it also stores a save file to disk in the slot called 9. I mean, otherwise, just giving you the password wouldn't help, because then you wouldn't have the save file. So even if you have the password, you cannot play part 2 unless you have a valid save file. So let's save that. So here you see I need to type that. Vert That's a weird save file password, very difficult to remember. And the thing is with this password is that these are two commands inside the parser. So I don't know if vert is vertical or whatever. There are only 4 kind of, what do you call them, relevant number or characters in every command. So if you write optimize, it's only the opti part that would be significant in that instance. So you can type as long as you like, but it will only pick the first 4 characters of every word. So these are vert etep. I'm sure etep could be interpreted as something longer, but these are available when you watch the parser. Okay, and then I press key, and my code here uses the save routine to save the little file to disk, and it's done on slot number 9. I could have made that selectable, but this, if you're just playing this game and you're cheating as much as you want, then I'm sure you don't mind if I save over slot number 9. Okay, now let's see the pictures. And there is actually a bug in the game that if you're typing in the correct password and you feed it with the save file that is wrong, it will show this picture, but it will only show it so briefly. It's very difficult to see. So here you actually see it fully. Take a good look, because you will probably not see it if you're using my save file, because then your save file will be accepted. If you want to watch them more carefully, you have to freeze frame and then watch them more carefully. I mean, it's an impressive amount of pictures stored in memory, but they are really ugly, aren't they? Okay, vert etep. And now I can load from disk, and of course I'm using game number 9 because that was the one I saved. And here we go. This is the start of part 2. We are in a dark alley full of non-returnable bottles. There we go, that is the FairLight version. I do have a few little things that I would like to add, so let's over to them. Okay, so I'm going to show you something here. This. When the game is trying to parse the command that you have given it, this is the block it's comparing with, and that looks like garbage. The reason is okay, so I switched over to 6502 bench. So it's this. Here I have, as you know, I've done this a number of times before. This is the way I'm now documenting things. Rather than scribbly notes on pen and paper, I'm just throwing everything into 6502 bench, and then I allow that to traverse the main parts of the game. And then I can add little comments and headers and a number of convenient little things. It's a lot easier to run around in here and document rather than just disassembling memory from machine code monitor and making scribbly notes. I have enough scribbly notes anyway, but the actual parsing is done once, and I can return, and when I return to the same memory areas again, I can return to where my comments are rather than trying to find them on my scribbly notes. So in the part of that parsing commands, why can't we read them in clear text? And the reason is here. It's here. All the commands it reads are using exclusive OR 42, and if I scroll down, exclusive OR 42 and exclusive OR 42. So this entire block of memory uses exclusive OR 42. So if you take that area, the 6DF2 block where the commands are, and if you just exclusive OR that with 42, then you actually have access to the command the game supports. So these are the memory location. Let's write a little code and just copy over with 42, and so do an EOR and then store over this and store it back, and let's see the commands. All right, so I had to reboot the game, but since I borked it. But here we have it again. My little piece of code here. So I'm reading from 6DF2 and I'm doing an exclusive OR with 42 and I'm storing it back and then incrementing and then branching back. So this would only take the first page of commands. So if there are more than 256 bytes of commands, we will only see the first 256 bytes. And I haven't bothered to find out sort of where this ends. So 0350, there we go. And let's see if we have 6DF2. Here we have the commands, and I think there are a few that could make it a bit more interesting. I think we should be able to see vert and this ETEP somewhere, do we? No, of course we don't see vert ETP. ETEP, because this is the first one. I need to load the second level and see if they are there, because of course, why do we need them in the first one? We don't. So I'm sure that one would be in the second one. So let's load part 2 and see if we can do the same thing and see if things work then. Sorry, I'm a bit short-sighted, but I have discovered them. They are here. Vert etep. Here you find the 2 verbs that are combined to formulate the password for accessing part 2 of the game. So there you go. That's the parser. Great. I'm really happy that we managed to do this. So thank you for watching this. We've gone through a number of details of this game. You've seen my homage to Strider for his version of the game by utilizing the intro that he used for it. And there is basically only one question. One of the things you interact with is in this game is a number of dogs. They are Dobermans. Why isn't it called Dobermen? Wouldn't that be more appropriate? Man in plural in English is men, so it should be Dobermen, shouldn't it? Yeah, in this game it's Dobermans. That's all I had for today. Have a nice day and enjoy watching FairLight TV. And do also now find us on Patreon, because I've formulated created a Patreon page where you have the opportunity of accessing all the videos as soon as we release them, rather than on Friday when we make them available. I'm not saying you will get many days, and I'm not saying you will get them always on Wednesday. It could be that you only get access to them an hour or 2 earlier, but you would at least get access to them earlier in almost all cases. So see us on Patreon. Bye-bye.
This station is now the ultimate power in the universe.
FairLight.